Out of your
Even
system
though
now, Ryan. Get it out
Even
of your
though
system now.
I just realized no one pressed the go live button, so now they could actually see us.
Oh, on the YouTube side. Now people can see us?
Now people can actually see us.
All right. Well, we did it, Ryan. We made it.
We made it. We it's fine. You know, it's 250 episodes in, Sean. The show is going as smoothly as it always does. So
Well,
it's all good.
over 250 episodes, how many dozens of episodes have we ever done things the exact same way over and over again?
It's true.
We are in constant flux.
My God.
We were Make Us Better at one point in the Xbox Drive's lifetime. We were Yumi Capri. We're Carpool Gaming. God knows what's next. We used to do this in
anything, Sean. At this point, it could be anything.
Could be anything.
I mean, at one point we were a dayspace.com official podcast.
We sure were, man. Holy crap! Brendan Myers, Court Lalonde, Eric Cave, mostly Martinez. Everybody's here. I have bad news for you, Ryan. Right off the start.
What's that, John?
This is the worst coffee I've ever had.
What? But it's from McDonald's. How could it be
good? They should be consistent. This is. Let me just give it another try. It seems good, and then like bam, aftertaste. Like what is in there? What's with the aftertaste? Like,
did they put tin in there in your coffee or something, Sean? What's going on there?
I watched a video last night about lead, like leaded gasoline and paint and everything, and how that was just like everywhere.
Yeah,
I think there might be lead in my coffee. Is what I'm trying to tell you.
I think that's not good.
I think I might be drinking. I don't think they poured it out of the unleaded coffee cup or mug.
Oh my God.
They need an unleaded coffee pot, please.
Also, you say this as if, leaded and unleaded gas is no longer a thing, but you'd be surprised, man, if you drive out to I remember when I was driving to Thunder Bay, driving home from college, which was, even though I'm an old man, that was when I went to college the second time. And so it was not too long ago. And on the way back from Thunder Bay, there's all these, gas stations along the way back here to Toronto. And there's lots of gas stations that served leaded gas.
Leaded gasoline. Oh my gosh. That is, man, they're finding lead in people's teeth and bones. And they found, I could go on and on. Shout out to, I think it's called Veritasium, one of the best like science-based YouTube channels out there. They've got like 14 million subscribers. It's crazy. Very smart stuff. But Ryan, ain't nobody got time for that. Hey everyone, it's me, Sean Capri. I'm glad you're here because you're listening to the most horsepowerful podcast on the internet. It's the Xbox Drive. I'm on a Skype call with my friend Ryan Turford. He's the man on the moose, and I'm screaming extra loud today because we're celebrating 250 episodes of freaking the Xbox Drive. So jump on into the Xbox Drive. Boom!
No power greater than X.
Ryan Turford, what are you even doing with your hands right now? What are you doing with your hands, man?
I don't know. Like I was watching, the hit cinematic masterpiece last night, Sean, Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
Yeah. Oh no.
And when the characters are talking to each other, especially the villains, first of all, it feels very Power Ranger-y.
Yes.
It's like all the villains are just like, and yes, Shao Kahn, I will lead the army and take out the Mortal Kombat people, take out Liu Kang, and then the Motaro chimes in. Oh no, I will take them out, and they're always talking with their hands, Sean, and it made me realize just how much I talk with my hands.
Yeah,
but today I wasn't even talking. You were just doing the intro, and I was doing stuff with my hands. Although a lot of times, you usually call me the weatherman on the moose. Today you just called me the man on the moose. So usually when you call me the weatherman on the moose, I do kind of like a cold front kind of motion because I'm a weatherman.
Cold front motion. Is it a different motion for a hot front? What's the opposite of a cold front, Ryan?
Yeah, it's like a cold air front, or a hot air front going the other direction.
Air front. I don't think it's called that. But I wanted to go back to the classics, Ryan. Couldn't call you a weatherman on the moose because we're going to celebrate our journey a little bit today. I'm trying to know. I should have went back to check. I think you were the man on the moose from the very beginning. I feel like right from the first time you were on the show, I think I introduced you as the man on the moose because in my intro, and people kind of know this from the Nintendo Drive as well, I hit a certain cadence with this. Like there's a certain set of syllables and like screams and highs and lows and everything. It's just part of how my brain works, I guess. So when Luke Lohr, previous co-host of the Xbox Drive, we wouldn't be here without him. When I introduced him on the show, it was, I'm on a Skype call with my friend Luke Lore, the insipid ghost. And that was a big deal. Like, he hadn't really been, especially when he joined the show, I don't think that he'd really been, I don't know, like exclaiming his Twitter handle at all. So then it became, I had to keep Ryan Turford, the something. So, and you came from Game Moose Podcast, of course. So here we are.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, the only one, I don't know, I can't remember because it's been a long time since I've listened to an episode with you and Dave, but did you ever have a nickname for Dave?
I never had anything for Dave. And it's funny, even the Baw thing started with Dave Moore in the very early days. I just, like, really the show hopefully still maintains some of the, I don't know, irreverence, like the just who cares what happens, the hilarity, the spontaneity that the show was really born out of with Dave, and that's the legacy I think that he leaves on this show is, like, first and foremost, we just want to hang out. Like, that's really the biggest thing. And like for Dave, a lot of times he had like no opinions about any of the games. He just served of like, he would tee it up for me of like, okay, next topic is this. And then I would go rant on about it for a couple minutes. So the show became twice as long when Luke showed up, because Luke actually had things to say about certain things. And it's like, you know, it was a different show with Luke, of course.
Of course. Well, it was more structured in a lot of ways. Like, it brought structure to this show while we were still, you know, being a little unwieldy. We've never really gone to the point, Sean, while I've been here, that you and Kato have gone to, where you almost don't even need to prepare show notes, because you guys just talk for 40 minutes about whatever you guys feel like talking about. Like, we've never done that, but I'm just not usually that type of person. Like, I like structure a little too much, Sean, probably, to do that a little bit. But remember, I could come up with like 5 things and we just talk about that, and we'd probably be fine without even notes for it.
I mean, I'm open to it if you are. Like, one of the biggest things that Dave and I used to we had really good conversations about this back in the day, because for anybody who doesn't know, if anybody who's like sort of like just recently joined in and started listening to the show, the reason the show is called the Xbox Drive is because it actually was recorded in a car before. And Dave Moore and I, who everybody should be checking out Dave Moore at Tell You Dave on Twitter, and the Snack Network is just hilarious if they're eating just whatever they can get their hands on, and doing kind of like food snack reviews and things like that. Very cool. It's, of course, like that's very Dave. But I was driving into work one day. I was on an actual Skype call with Dave, and we're like, how we should do a podcast together, but how are we ever going to find time to do this? Like, I got to work all day, and I was trying to remember if I had Lincoln at that time. But yeah, I think I did. But I'm like, the only time I would have that's free is literally this time driving to work. And that was the birth of this show. Was we discovered that I had a half an hour commute, or give or take, going into work. So I would just call Dave and he would record the whole thing. And it was a show. And the reason I wanted to highlight that a little bit is because we would often talk about like the audio quality of the show as being not the best, and that being part of the whole thing about it. That was a characteristic of the Xbox Drive. Was I was on my iPhone with the headphones that come with it, and I don't know if I've ever told you this, Ryan. I would actually loop because if you have the headphones just kind of like hanging, the microphone kind of sits on your chest, right? The little thing on the line.
That's not good mic position. You got to move it a little bit.
So I would loop the cord around my ear, around like under my nose. I looked like I was going to the hospital with like an oxygen line. And that's where the microphone would sit. It would sit across my face, but propped up by my glasses and everything else like this. And that's how that show was recorded and built, just totally cobbled together, like with plastic and duct tape, basically, like 2 cups and a string that we would do. And we often talked about, could we make this better, but would we actually want to? And for so long, we really resisted better equipment or a better system. And that's really when the show felt very indie. It felt very grassroots and scrappy. And I think that's kind of what made it special, especially in the early days as I reflect on it.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, there's not the most special thing about it, first of all, is it's recorded in a car. How many other podcasts can you say are actually recorded in a car? Like, just not ridiculous. Many, let alone well or structured or, you know, having, you know, any kind of meaning, or because it's different, like maybe doing a podcast in a car and having, you know, people in real life sitting in the car with you, because like that I could get at least a little bit more from like a production standpoint. But the idea that you're like doing like a call in the car was just, you know, ridiculous. Like with someone like in a completely different country, no less. Like,
yeah, man.
Moore's not in Canada. Please.
because it was a commute, I would obviously drive the same way into work every single time, and there was a predictable part of the commute that I didn't get coverage. I didn't get reception to my phone. So we called it the silent hill. So it was maybe 22, 25 minutes into the show every time, like, I would disappear from it, and Dave would just assume Sean's at the silent hill, and that was just part of it, man. It was just like, this thing is a rickety old piece of crap, but like, we have fun with it and we laugh the whole time. And guess what? I'm going to order coffee at McDonald's drive-thru because that's ridiculous. And who's ever done anything like that? And so I bring a lot of this stuff up to celebrate Dave, to celebrate the origins of the show, but also to kind of like give a refresher for all of us to go like, I'd like to see how else we can get back to some of that, because that's the most fun type of podcast ever. It was so ridiculous, man. And we knew it was.
For sure. Well, and it's just, the main reason that changed, number one, was for whatever reason, somehow over time, your cell phone service actually got worse.
Yeah.
I don't know how that managed to happen, where it's just like, you actually had to, for a while, for folks that were watching the video version of the show, Sean would have to sit in like the McDonald's parking lot and wait until pretty much we were ready to end the show, because he knew like the last 10 minutes of the show, the Silent Hill grew to the point where it was like, a 10-minute driving
just brutal, yeah,
instead of just being 2 minutes. So that's one of the reasons we changed it. But also too, like, you're not really commuting to work every day, so it's a big ask to make you just have to just drive out for a podcast just cause, I guess, and waste gas money like that. But so maybe one of these days, Sean, we try it again. We do have the technology to make it work as a live show, in this capacity, but it's just a matter of whether or not how long Sean will stay on the Silent Hill for.
I'm seriously going to have to like look at, I'm going to have to pull up some like Canadian telecom companies like reception maps. I feel like I haven't had to do that since like 2002. Like when you're choosing like, who do I go with? Who has the best coverage in my area? Like I haven't had to look at that, man. But that may be where because that, you're right. Like you and I have had conversations about this as well. At some point when we return to having some sort of capacity on reception and coverage standpoint, but also streaming on your end, like the best that I could ever do is just join in on the call and maybe video conference in from my phone on the way. But then you would have to stream, and we're just gonna have to figure that side of things out as well. But it's so special, man. Like it's so ridiculous, and that's just been my take. You know this about me. I'm not saying anything new to you, but like that's been my take on creating content the entire time. Like, what can we do that's just even just a little bit different, that makes it unique, that we can tell people about? And it led itself to so many amazing experiences over the course of the last couple of years. 250, technically, I guess 251 episodes, if we're being real honest.
People that know that last week was only half an episode.
Totally half an episode.
It was an hour long. It's fine.
Yeah, but like I said, Luke changed the show quite a lot. I think when he came in, and he was so easy to podcast with, and this is the same with everybody who's been on the show as well. But I just want to kind of take a moment to highlight everybody who has paved the way for us to be where we are right now. And Luke was so easy because like you would give him a topic and he would explore it so intellectually, and he continues to do that on Xbox Expansion Pass. That like I didn't really feel like I had to do anything more than just like, let's just bring up a topic, and Luke would really shine new lights on it. So yeah, definitely a lot of Luke love, mostly Martinez. The show, I think, gained a different audience at that point, maybe because of that. I'm not sure, maybe it was just timing. But something happened in the late days of Dave Moore transitioning into Luke. But we used to get pictures from Xbox Canada saying, hey, we're listening to you guys. Like back in that happened back in the Dave days. And that was like, oh snap, like we really have something here. This is kind of neat. And I want to give a quick shout out because I'm reminded of those times. Earlier today, Skinny Matt, you might have seen this, Ryan. Skinny Matt tagged us in a tweet and said, good morning, gents. I'm celebrating Xbox Drive episode 250 with a picture of his coffee mug. This used to be a weekly thing. People would launch into Twitter on Thursday, and when we launched the show, and say, I'm excited to listen to the Xbox Drive. I got my cup of coffee. Cheers, good morning. And it would be a thread of things. So shout out to Skinny Matt for that nice little throwback to those days.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't had too many coffee shout-outs for a while anyways.
I don't get coffee on the show anymore.
Yeah, I remember that used to be a thing when we started, but I do remember, over time, even though we were still in the car, like people stopped doing that, or we just, stopped asking for coffee shout outs. Maybe because maybe we wanted to try a different beverage. Maybe you want a nice, cafe latte or a frappuccino or something. Sean.
Maybe we'll give it a try and get a Diet Coke, and who knows what we're going to get, Ryan. We'll get a Coke Zero, probably. Or an actual Coke. Oh my gosh, the sugar.
No, you'll end up with a Sprite instead, Sean. God forbid.
I actually might do. Like you never really know, but yeah, like there's just been, time and time again, this show has never really remained the same, as I mentioned, like whether we change the audio quality or the co-host or whatever. But Luke and I had just the best time on the show as well, and it came to the point where, the Xbox expansion pass just had to exist. Like that's a podcast that's important that only Luke could do. And I feel like where everybody is at right now is exactly the way that it was meant to be. Dave is doing his awesome food reviews on the Snack Network, and Luke is crushing it with interviews with industry legends that are being referenced on IGN and all these other amazing gaming websites. Like the notoriety and recognition that Luke is getting with that show is so well deserved because it is special. Nobody else is doing it like that. And then here we are just like doing a bunch of ridiculous stuff with something that has grown into carpool gaming with a wonderful community of people who support us and stick with us, even if what even is this show? So it's very special. And I'm really glad that we just take a moment to pause and reflect on 250 freaking episodes. That's a lot of content, dude.
Exactly. And the crazy thing too is, everything you talked about with both Luke and Dave, that was only like the first 100 episodes of the show. And then I can't even believe I've been here now for almost 3 years at this point.
That's right.
I've been here for almost 150 episodes myself, which is just weird to think about because it almost just feels like yesterday that I just, joined the show or that I was doing Game Moose and stuff like that. But to your point, Sean, about, this is almost kind of the way things, should be or they're meant to be, joining the Xbox Drive changed my life in a big way. When you invited me to join in the first place, I was a little bit down and out on podcasts, admittedly. Like I was doing Game Moose with Drew, and we were kind of spinning our tires with some stuff because both of our hearts weren't necessarily in it at that point. And when you had reached out on Twitter, you slid into my DMs, Sean, ask me to join. At first, I was a little bit nervous. Would I have the chops to maybe fill in, some of the pretty big shoes that were left by Luke and Dave and everyone else who's been on the show. But at the same time, I'm so glad I did because that led to so many opportunities and just being able to hang out with you every single week, Sean. Even if we just don't talk too much outside of this some weeks, but we just have a chance to hang out here, reconnect, and just have a great time. Hanging out. This show is super special to me. It's also led to meeting so many other friends over on the Discord or on Twitter or everywhere else. And, I think, my life has gone on a more positive path because of the Xbox Drive and because I'm part of Carpool Gaming. So, I want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here. And I'm just so happy that I got to be part of this, amazing experience. And I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world, Sean. And now you're just stuck with me forever, and you just got to deal with it at this point.
Well, you haven't screwed it up yet, Ryan.
That was a running joke for a while. That's why I brought it up. Where it was like, well, every other co-host has only lasted for a year, so let's see how long Ryan lasts.
Ryan's outside of his probation period here, so he's made it. Yeah, man. Well, I never had any doubt that you were the next one, and I never want to get into a habit of another co-host like that. It's a painful experience, to be completely transparent. It's just not a fun time. But and any time that somebody comes in to replace whoever was there before, that's a challenging time for that person as well. And so I'm glad that we haven't had to do that again. And I think that the show has just continued to grow, and we have such a great balance of you put up with my shit is basically the main part of it. Is I know that I'm a little eccentric on the show, and people think that I'm any different off the air. Not really. I'm always thinking, what else could we do? It would be fun if we did this and all this stuff. I'm always thinking. But one thing I want to give credit to you, Ryan, is the extra mile doesn't happen in those other two eras. The extra mile came with you, actually. And in addition to the extra mile, which maybe we'll get back to, you just came in here to like just crush it. And you started with the roundabout and then the crossroads, celebrating the best games in the Xbox landscape and the Xbox ecosystem. I never asked you to do that. Like, that was definitely you going, hey, I like these old things. Like, I think this would be cool to add to the feed. And you just crushed it, man. So it's really cool to see that celebration of video games, but also this notion of we were, I think, feeling a little bit in some cases a little tight for time if there was a topic or game especially that we wanted to explore more. So something that people maybe they just listen to, they don't really realize like the origins of it. Like we do things like the extra mile where we have an hour-long conversation about a single game, because prior to that, our whole like review process for a game would have been the 5 or 6 minutes within the podcast itself. And that I think represented a pretty significant shift for this podcast. Like those three things, the extra mile, the crossroads, and the roundabout. Like, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but I just wanted to, again, kind of acknowledge.
Well, first
and
off,
that.
I got to put up the heart right here. First of all, I'm seeing all the amazing, people in chat being super nice. And I just want to say thank you. First of all, I don't really deal with compliments too well, so I will admit that. And I am sorry about that. But at the same time, yeah, I felt like, first of all, the extra mile didn't start with me per se, because right before I joined, you actually had an amazing opportunity to go interview Rod Ferguson at the Coalition, thanks to everyone supporting the show back then. Mm-hmm. And I remember you did like the prototype for what was the extra mile with that interview and talking about Gears 5 and stuff like that. And then we basically I just took that idea and just rolled with it, John, with everything else, because one of the things I actually liked doing over on Game Moose, because we were just a long form podcast where we would have episodes where we would talk about retro stuff, or we would have episodes where we did like big long review episodes where we did like an hour and a half episode that was just a spoiler cast for Halo 5. Mm-hmm. So I took what I loved about doing that, and then kind of took that and injected that into the Xbox Drive and taking those experiences and bringing them here anyways. And I was really proud to do, stuff like the roundabout and the crossroads. Like I love talking about old games. And I just loved, even though I know the episode listenership wasn't super high on those, I did really enjoy doing them and enjoy talking to everyone who did listen to those and enjoyed my takes on some old games as well. And then we're doing that now with the PlayStation Drive now as well, which is also pretty special. So
that's the craziest thing. Like when we think about 250 episodes of this, it spawns so much. Obviously, like where we're at with Carpool Gaming, but like Kato is part of the team with the Nintendo Drive, Court and Matt with the PlayStation Drive. Like, how did this thing that started as a Skype call in a car with shoddy cell phone reception turn into like, maybe some people actually think that this is an organized operation? Like, I don't know. It seems like it's almost coordinated and with collaboration and teamwork and stuff. And we have a YouTube channel with 1,000 subs, and we're about to launch memberships here as well. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that like we've got one of the best Patreons as far as the community and the best Discords on the planet, all from just who knows. Let's just see what happens. Let's give it a try, man. That's the kind of thing that pumps my tires and like fills my spirit and just keeps us going for another, hopefully 250, maybe 2,500 episodes, Ryan.
I'm also glad you brought it up, Sean, because actually if you go to like the Xbox Drive podcast feed on something like Spotify, even though we're at episode 250, if you count like all of the extra miles and all the roundabouts and all the crossroads episodes, we're closer to something like 400 episodes.
Yeah, 400 episodes of content.
If we were to count them as normal episodes, which is kind of ridiculous to think about.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff.
We'll have like all these different weird made up milestone celebrations, like technically 500th episode, and then we'll years later celebrate. We're saving
that for when we get to 1,000. When we get to 1,000 total episodes on podcast services, Sean, like that's a crazy milestone right there. We could probably do that in the next like 4 or 5 years, I'm imagining.
Yeah, and you know what? It'll blink.
Yeah. Well, that's what the funny thing too is like I'm looking at 250. I'm like, we're only 50 more episodes away from 300. We're gonna get that next year.
A year away from dude. If we could do something live, I think that would be awesome. Like we'll obviously have something with Extra Life, not necessarily just Xbox Drive, but we'll have some live participation and get-togethers and touching, in real life at Extra Life. But yeah, man, that'll be awesome.
I love how you say that you want to do that live when we're literally doing the show live right now, Sean.
I know, but like in person, I get. Yeah, you're right.
You're right. I know what you meant. I just felt like I needed to poke and prod at least a little bit.
Yeah,
here.
I got it.
I want to bring in some of our community members as well, because first of all, you had reached out yesterday and asked, what some of people's favorite memories were, or if they had any general questions about, the Xbox Drive process. And we did get some of those as well. So we're going to start with Blaze Knight on the Discordia, who says, you can't miss this huge milestone, so I'll ask the obvious questions. How did you start the Xbox Drive? What were some of your favorite moments with each of your co-hosts? Why did you decide to record a podcast while you were driving? Can we go to McDonald's? So I know that you touched on some of that stuff earlier, Sean, with, how the show got started and whatnot. So we're probably not going to circle back there, but do you have any particular favorite memories with the three co-hosts? Obviously, I have a couple favorite memories with you, but do you have any special memories? We'll start with maybe Dave or Luke first. Do you have any special memories with them? What do you think?
Dave, when I would surprise Dave with the intro quite a lot. Like, it would kind of change time over time, and I would always, if I could make Dave laugh, like this, there's just nothing better than a Dave Moore, just like, what is even happening right now? Kind of a laugh. So it's not like actually a specific moment with Dave, but that would happen almost on a weekly basis where we would just like almost have complete disregard for the fact that we're trying to produce a podcast, but we would just make each other laugh all the time, man. Like, there was one weird episode, I think it was with Luke, where my favorite, this is definitely the one. My favorite episode with Luke, actually, I had forgotten to charge my laptop while I was at work. And so at that time, Luke and I were recording on my way home. So my laptop was on like just barely enough of a charge, and it ended up running out of batteries maybe 5 or 10 minutes before the true end of the show. So what ended up happening was I put because it's such an abrupt ending, there's no way to fix it. And instead of me like jumping on going like, hey guys, it's me, Sean, this is after the show, just want to apologize that like my laptop ran out of battery, I inserted a car crash sound at the end of the show. And
I remember this.
It was,
people were generally worried, like, what happened to Sean and Luke? It just ended.
Yeah, I remember thinking it was obvious to me that I was fine because I was the one who put the podcast up for people to listen to. Like, I thought that the actual like uploading the thing would denote that I'm actually okay. But yeah, we had certain things to answer for the week afterwards. Yep. Court Lalonde says not cool. Court Lalonde would not like that. But sometimes that's what you get with me. You guys, like, sometimes I'm gonna make you think that I got in a car crash. But I've been followed by cops for sure a couple of times. I think it was with you, Ryan, where I went through a drive-through one time too, and I had the laptop up and facing me. So when I went through the drive-thru, it was on the passenger seat. And I go to grab my drink from the guy, and he looks past me, he looks down at the laptop, sees that it's Audacity, like it's clearly like recording me. And he goes, "Yeah, what is that?" And I go, "Nothing." I close the laptop lid and I just kind of like drive off. I was so embarrassed. And I don't know why I was embarrassed, but yeah. I feel like those are kind of all three of you guys some really good moments for sure.
And you just wanted to make sure he wasn't on like some like prank YouTube video or something like that, I would imagine. But
well, as like okay, obviously as I am and comfortable with like speaking in front of other people, I'm good with that. But for whatever reason, wearing the headset and having somebody identify that I'm recording a podcast right in front of them, I couldn't bear the embarrassment, Ryan. So I had to peel on out of there. But I've been in like thunderstorms. I think it was with Luke. I was just sitting, I stopped driving. I pulled over because it was like this crazy thunderstorm with like hail and everything. So you got a lot of that road noise in there as well. So there's been a couple times where I'm like, hopefully I make it home safe and sound. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like I also remember too with me, like you've been through a couple snowstorms and stuff like that. And I'm like,
oh, yeah.
Sean, how are you driving right now? Because I saw the video footage and I'm just like, I don't know how Sean managed to get through this alive.
Seriously.
But he did somehow. It was for the content, I guess.
I want to also celebrate Johnathan Brown, actually, who does the music for this show and has from, I think, the beginning. Oh, no, Dave and I had a different intro. I think when Luke came on the show, we introduced a new audio piece. I was looking at some videos. Lincoln, so I used to do the editing for the show, and my son Lincoln, when back in those days, he was maybe 1 or 2 years old, and he would come in and just hit the space bar on my laptop so that it would play that intro music. And I've got to put this out there on Twitter too. He loved it. He would hit the space bar and just start dancing to the music and laughing and everything. He thought it was the best. And he just knew that if he hit the space bar again, I had it kind of queued up to play at that point.
I remember you tweeted a video about that a long time ago.
I was looking them up earlier this week. I was definitely in the feels about episode 250, man.
Yeah. I mean, for me, one of the most fun episodes for me actually was the very first video episode, and just putting like, the whole experience of us trying to, cobble this podcast together and try and do like a video version of it, because people had asked for it forever. But I just remember having so much fun editing it. And I remember even when you got to like the McDonald's drive-through, just the look of pure joy on your face when ordering your coffee and stuff like that. Like that was a really fun podcast to do. Like I really enjoyed that one in particular. But also, again, just a lot of the stuff that came outside of the podcast itself that has just been the most special thing to me, like, getting to meet in person and doing an episode in person. Although we had done, podcasts in person before the Xbox Drive, because we did like Game Moose in person and we did We the GamerCast in person before. But it was really special to do stuff for this podcast outside of like in person. I thought was really fun. And going to events and stuff like that is always fun with you, Sean. So
yeah, man,
I had to throw that in there as well.
That's where my mind is at overall too. Like, we've got to do really cool things, but like it's too braggadocious, I think, to outline some of those things. It's way like, and what is really special is who we've met, who we've got to hang out with, and all of those things, I think, is more so than anything else that tangibly comes out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, next up, I'm going to bring in the Muffin Mon, aka Kevin Ainsworth, who says, "Sad I won't be able to watch live as you celebrate, but wanted to say congratulations, and obviously my special memory is when you invited me to be on the show for an episode to do the E3 showcase predictions. Glad I could be part of such a special show's history." Yeah, I mean, Kevin's been on a few times, both with that and kind of the E3 wrap-up show as well. And that was really fun having Kevin on the show. So,
and overall, like, just for us to somehow, in some ways and sometimes, figure out how to get more people on the show has been really great. I think the Extra Mile is a version of that. Court was on the show a little while ago. Like, people recognize that we don't always have, or most of the time, we don't really have guests on. So when we are able to figure it out, it's nice too, man. But definitely the time frame of the show, it can be a little bit challenging of when we record and for how long. So that's the primary reason. But yeah, man, like, everything that surrounds E3, so good. And we always got to have, like, Kevin is definitely one person. Mitch Power, somebody who's been part of the Xbox Drive kind of family over the last couple of years as well, man. It's been great to see people jump in as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I also remember, like, I felt so bad for you afterwards, but I remember we did this episode with Donnie when he came on the show, and it was like the last time we decided to do guests on the show, because we were like, oh yeah, we don't really have like an out time or anything like that, so we just recorded. We went like almost into Sweet Hangs territory with the show, where it was almost like a 2-hour show.
I feel like N64 Josh was in there as well. We're like, yeah, we don't have an out time, and then I'm like, I should have said I did, because I didn't think we were gonna hit like 3 hours here, man. Like, I just yeah. There's been a couple times.
You were driving around the entire time. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. Sean does this show while driving.
That episode, yes.
For an hour and a half.
Yeah,
because it was different with N64 Josh, because that was
a wrap up or something
at the time.
Yeah.
Or even the episode with Snowbike Mike was also a long one too, Sean.
Holy crap. Yeah, man.
That was a fun episode too. Mm-hmm. But that was also like, you made sure you were inside your house for that one.
That's right. Yeah.
I think
early after you joined, it was Chris Johnson and Dapper Tux actually were on the show as well. So like we've had, Now, I mean, we could probably figure this out eventually. Yeah. Nothing's happening in Xbox Land anymore.
It's harder whenever we have to have like fit the podcast into like a 40-minute time frame or whatever to have guests on all the time. Yeah. Which is why people ask us, hey, can I come on the show, or can we have so and so come on the show? And a lot of times it's just because we can't have guests.
A lot of times Ryan just says hell no. Ryan just slides back into your DM and says, slams the door. Yeah,
I'm the one who just doesn't like it.
Yes,
but I want to bring in our last individual, TPR, on the Discord, who says, I would love to say it's been a blast. Oh, by the way, strap in, because this is a long paragraph. So I would love to say it's been a blast listening over my tenure as a listener. When the Xbox empire from PSVG network dissolved in 2021, I had a void in my podcast queue for an Xbox-centric show. I knew this guy named Sean sent in messages occasionally in the PSVG Discord, so I checked out his podcast after I learned he had an Xbox One. Now, fun fact, Sean was actually on the Xbox Empire a lot, so I'm actually surprised you didn't see an episode with Sean on the Empire before it dissolved, but I'll transition to the rest of his thought here. And not only did it fill my Xbox podcast needs, but it was my gateway drug into carpool gaming, which was then UB Capri, and I'm eternally grateful for all the experiences since and all the folks I've met along the way. I would not have kindled a friendship nor gained an opportunity to podcast with my new buddy Kevin Ainsworth, aka the Muffin Mon, if it wasn't for the Xbox Drive. To 250 more episodes of the Xbox Drive and my stupidly long questions / comments. Have a
Rein it in, TPR. No.
TPR always, I always love TPR's questions because they're always like these long paragraphs about stuff. Like
So
he puts up a
good.
lot of setup into his questions, which I like from time to time. Even though I stumble over my words all the time trying to read them because I'm old. I can't read all the time.
Well, it's funny you say that because I just wanted to pull up the question on my iPad here so that I could make sure I speak to the entirety of it. But that's what I'm talking about when I talk about how special the community is. Like the time it takes to like just say that. I feel like that's something, man. Like, because I would love to be able to submit that sort of thought to so many different podcasts, but it's like people are busy. TPR could have been doing anything else, but he chose to like sit down probably at his computer. What probably actually happened, and I don't know if I'm speaking out of turn here. TPR is probably just taking a bit of a bathroom break, and he had a couple extra minutes. But this is a well thought out. I would say like if that's the case, kudos to you, man. Well written, well articulated. Well, you obviously have some other things to think about. But dude, like this is PSVG, and as much as I've celebrated you and the rest of the co-hosts who have been part of the show, like the friendship and relationship we've had with the PSVG crew over basically since the beginning has just been nothing short of remarkable. And the Xbox Empire, the fact that show doesn't exist anymore, I know Donnie's probably in like a better mental state and all that, whatever. Yeah. That was the best Xbox show ever, man. The Xbox Empire was excellent. It was, pardon the pun, I truly, truly adored that show. So to have people come from that to this show is special. The fact that Donnie and I would always celebrate each other as part of like our shows. Like we never really felt the Xbox Drive or the Xbox Empire really competed. I think they were very comprehensive in their news coverage. I think we've been a little bit more kind of like quick hit nature. Like I think the approaches to the Xbox format has been a little bit different. And it's so wonderful that we can meet everybody from different communities. And I'll even throw like even Badbit and Kyle at the trophy room. Like we have kind of like a sister podcast kind of relationship. Like they're like a cousin over there. But we share kinship, man, together. We know how hard it is to do this stuff, but we appreciate the actual podcast itself. I love listening to the trophy room every single week. I'm a patron over there as well. And that's just like this Court Lalonde. I can't even read that.
You can't even acknowledge that.
No, definitely not. That's too mean-spirited for what we're doing here, man. But PSVG is so cool. I love that people like TPR have come on over to the Xbox Drive after the unfortunate collapse of the Xbox Empire. But bring it back, Donnie. Come on. Xbox Empire is so good.
Yeah. I'm actually surprised that they never like had an Xbox Empire, led by someone else even. Because if Donnie just wanted to take the time off, I'm surprised they didn't bring
Donnie's so good. He's well, I think TPR is busy now as well.
Yeah, maybe. TPR's got all the things going on. But
yeah.
Anyways, Sean, we've been talking long enough, and I feel bad for Court Lalonde because I told Court Lalonde we would do this at the beginning of the show, and then we started talking about 250, and then 35 minutes later, we're still talking about it. We didn't get a chance to do this. So, Sean, we ran a little contest.
Oh, yes.
250 episodes of the Xbox Drive to give back to our amazing community. So we wanted to reward one lucky winner with 250 ideated Xbox games.
Good God.
So not only do we have like a lot of games in here, but we curated a lot of the best ones for this giveaway as well. So whoever's got this one, whoever's going to win this is going to win like a really good batch of games. I can qualify to that. There's also lots of games in here that I haven't heard of before as well. I'm also doing a lot of the stalling as well because I know Sean's pulling up the wheel right now. So we collected all of our entries over on Twitter.
Do you have any of the games to mention here? Do you remember any of the top ones? I think Doki Doki Literature Club was in there. Do you have the list there?
We got, let's see, let me scroll over to my window here. We got, Trek to Yomi, Rogue Legacy 2, Spelunky 2, Record of Lotus War, Deedlith and Wonderworld, Blaster Master, the Blaster Master Zero trilogy, I should say, Azure Striker Gunvolt 1 and 2, both Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance games, the Jay and Silent Bob game, a whole bunch of crazy stuff. Ender Lilies, which I've heard amazing things about, but I've never played. I saw that in here and I was like, ooh, that's even good.
Star Wars Racer. Yes. Thank you, Court, in the chat. Thank you for reminding.
Star Wars Episode 1 Racer.
Yeah, this isn't a Game Pass thing. This is no, like, I think we've got Game Pass maybe later, but this is
made that joke last week where they're like, oh, you're giving away 250 games. Is that just code for an Xbox Game Pass code? And they're like, no, it's actually like 250 game codes to someone.
Get yourself some achievements, man. Let's do it. Okay, Ryan, should we do the thing?
We should do the thing. In fact, I'm gonna go to YouTube. I see it up as well because I'm gonna watch the live stream as you pull the wheel. So, Sean, when you're ready,
I'm ready.
Pull the wheel. We got to pick a winner.
Okay, here we go. This is it. Like whoever lands on this, they get 250. The wheel is spinning, Ryan. Who is it going to be?
DM you the code.
Thank you guys all for.
The show's over.
It is so close. Nick Tendo. That is a great name. Nick Tendo. Of course a Nintendo person wins 250 Xbox games. Thank you, Nick. By the way, everybody who was entered into this was following us on Twitter, is subscribed to us on YouTube. They've sent in all of the necessary paperwork, Ryan. But truly, that's the best way for people to support us. It's free to do. You support us on YouTube. Like that's what we want to continue to do and grow. So I love being able to give away 250 freaking games to Nick Tendo, Ryan.
That's a pretty good game. So first off, congratulations to Nintendo. Have fun redeeming all 250 of these games because it's not just one game code that unlocks all the games. It's actually one by individual game codes. So good luck with that. But huge thank you to everyone who entered for supporting us and all that good stuff. And I hope Nintendo you enjoy all of these games. And Sean, I can also safely say we've got a lot more of these codes. So this probably won't be the last time we do.
We'll give 251 games away next week.
Oh my gosh, John. We should do that until we eventually just empty.
That's not a bad idea. Maybe at 260. Maybe we'll do 260. Although we cherry picked a bunch of the good ones for this list, so that's the good one. Nice.
And who knows? We get new ID and Xbox games every week, Sean. So who knows?
That's true. What's
gonna happen with those? Also. Before we transition away from, the Xbox Drive hitting 250, I also want to give a special shout out to one of our fellow Carpool Gaming members, Mr. Matt Sawinski, because his show, Burnout Brighter, just celebrated 150 episodes today, the day that we're also doing this. We have the same anniversary as us, Sean.
That's amazing.
Which is hilarious. So I wanted to say a huge shout out to them for all the hard work that both Matt and Des put into that show. So go, if you haven't checked out Burnout Brighter yet, go check out Burnout Brighter as well. Like Matt, actually, I saw him tweet last night, Sean. I don't know if you saw this, where he
was a mess.
Apparently they got very drunk and recorded last night. He's just like, we're a mess. This podcast is a mess in all the right ways.
Matt. Yeah.
So go check that out as well. Well, 40 minutes into the show, Sean, before we wrap things up, first of all, did you play any games this week? I gotta ask anyway.
Forza Horizon, the thing, the Hot Wheels thing. It's so good. And the thing is, I don't know if this is really what they mean to be doing with it, but like they got me back in with the Hot Wheels, but I'm actually back in Mexico, dude. Like I'm playing the regular game as well, kind of getting into those season points. I bought a $2 million concept car or something just to do some of those requirements or whatever, and it's hilarious, and I just think that game is great. So that's kind of filling me right now. I'm going to be doing my famous tournament brackets to figure out what is next, Ryan, but right now it's Forza and Fall Guys, basically. And, Ryan, well, I don't know if this is plugs for the end. Here at youtube.com/carpoolgaming, I'm celebrating my birthday tomorrow, another milestone, another anniversary of birth for me.
Yes.
I will be streaming at 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, if you like, and playing
or standard time.
No, it's not. I'm going to be playing a bunch of my favorite games. So whatever that happens to mean, I'd love to do some multiplayer stuff with people, but at the same time, Ryan, kind of want to play like Warcraft 2. Not going to lie. Yeah. Or like Half-Life.
And try and somehow find a good way to stream that game. Cause I imagine it's not an easy process getting a DOS game to,
it runs. I have the GOG game, the good old games kind of thing.
No, so I've always had problems adding DOS games specifically to OBS in the past. So
interesting.
I hope it works.
Oh, all right.
Because likewise, I tried to back in the day, Sean. Back when I used to stream a lot. One of the games I tried to stream one time was Siberia. Have you ever heard of Siberia before with a C?
Sounds cold.
So it's like a point and click adventure game, but you're like the doofiest looking like Duke Nukem, rip off of a character ever.
Nice.
And it has like hilarious death animations where you just walk up to this like like vat of acid, and you're like, ooh, what happens if I stick my hand in here? And like he's like, oh no, my hand burned off, and it dies. So it's just like there's this really stupid stuff that happens there. And I remember trying to stream it one time, and I just could not get it to work because it ran at like some wonky resolution, and in DOSBox it's an interesting thing. So that's my Siberia story for the day, Sean. But
I'm glad.
as for me, I played some Multiversus yesterday. Sean,
Oh,
because
nice.
Open beta is officially open for Multiversus, so now everyone can just jump in and play. And I got to tell you, Sean, this game's really fun. I actually had a really good time playing Multiversus. I played as Wonder Woman. I played as Steven Universe. I played as Arya Stark, and I thought it was a really fun, Smash Brothers clone. I think it's definitely like more of a fun experience than something like PlayStation All Stars, which is a game I really enjoyed as well. But this is the first time we've had like a really big, besides maybe Brawlhalla, which you could argue as well, but like a really big like Smash Brothers clone on Xbox.
Yeah.
With a great like set of licensed characters. Although I don't know if it's a bit of a stretch to call LeBron James a licensed character, but he's there. You can play as LeBron James in a video game that involves fighting Bugs Bunny. So there's that. But yeah, I think that game's pretty fun, and look forward to be talking about it more over the next couple of weeks. And I told you before last week, I've been playing Outriders.
Yes.
And I've been playing Outriders Worldslayer, which picks up like really far after the ending of Outriders, where you're basically trying to, search for a solution to kind of the anomaly, the big, giant storm that's happening on the planet from growing. Is kind of like the big thing that they're trying to stop in this one. But I don't want to talk too much about the story because again, there's spoilers there. For those that haven't played it before. Also, shout out to Yarden in the chat who just won himself 3 months of Game Pass. So congratulations to
nice.
Yarden for DMing Court Lavond on Twitter and asking about your favorite coffee.
Dude, that's why you want to show up for the live show. I know some people want to and they can't be here, but like, you want to prioritize it a little bit.
I mean,
your
even
family
if you're
can
just
wait.
in the chat,
Your job
you
can wait.
See all of these, giveaways from
Yeah,
Court
you never
Lavond
know.
as well. But there you go. Also, yeah, I'm also super excited to play, games on stream with you tomorrow, Sean. I think that's gonna be a fun, birthday stream because you're probably gonna be stuck with me all day because
Sounds
I don't have
good.
to work tomorrow. So
Nice.
there you
LAN
go.
party, man. Let's do it.
Yeah. Well, we had some news stories, but we're kind of out of time, Sean. We're gonna we were like, at first like I love it because Sean, you and I in typical Xbox Drive fashion, we're like, oh yeah, we'll probably maybe talk about the Xbox 250 for like 10 to 15 minutes, maybe at the most. we spent the whole show talking.
What are
about
we
it.
skipping? What are the news stories that we're actually skipping over here?
So 2 news stories. Number 1, Lord of the Rings Gollum has been delayed till next year.
Yeah,
And
that's
then the super exciting news from me personally, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Cowabunga Collection has a release date. It'll launch on August 30th. I cannot wait
Perfect timing
for that release. Sean.
Perfect timing, man. It couldn't have come too soon after Shredder's Revenge. We've got a chance to kind of 1,000% that game, and now we'll go over to this. It's the summer of Ninja Turtles, and I couldn't be happier as I turn a year older, but I feel super young while just playing all these older games from our childhood, man. That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of insider stuff coming
as well.
too. There's a bunch of like new features coming to like insiders on Xbox, but maybe we'll chat about it next week, or we'll just cover it when it actually hits everybody. But very cool stuff.
But we had like the increasing boot up time, which hit everyone this week.
Yes,
as well.
that's true. Mm-hmm.
I did forget to put that in the document, but it's like it's so minor of a thing that most people leave their console in sleep mode anyways that most people don't even see the startup screen.
Yep. And Xbox is selling well, so that's good, I guess.
Yeah. Although revenues are down for them at least a little bit. But
second highest
Game Pass is
Q4
up,
ever.
Game Pass is up though, so there is that. But
Yeah, we like Game Pass.
We got to go, but before we go, Sean plugs go for the 250th time.
My goodness gracious, Ryan, what a special episode. Thank you so much to everybody for joining us today and for every one of the other 250 dang episodes we've got on here. Thanks to everybody for supporting us and encouraging us to start and continue on with a Patreon, all of the things, patreon.com/carpoolgaming. Our merch is in the show notes, bit.ly/CPG merch. Ryan's got a shirt on and it looks great. And if you want to be just really good looking, like freaking Nagachaka and Locklith out there, like everybody's looking great in the merch, man. It's really amazing. quick, very short, and I said this very briefly yesterday. Maybe I'll shock some people here today. I'm no longer streaming at twitch.tv/Sean Capri. Starting tomorrow, yeah, I'm closing that thing down. That is done. Starting tomorrow, I'll be streaming exclusively at youtube.com/carpoolgaming, starting with the birthday stream, Halo Saturdays, Super Fun Time Saturdays, Fall Guys Saturdays will now be at youtube.com/carpoolgaming. And yeah, check things out tomorrow. We're going to be launching some announcements around memberships around the YouTube channel, which I'm very excited about. That only happens because we have so many people supporting us here. We have we reached partner level, Ryan. So we've got that all sorted out. I got to hit the button. And then we'll do that tomorrow. So stay tuned for all of that, my friend.
Absolutely, yeah. Blame Argo says no more Twitch. No more Twitch, Argo.
Sorry, Argo.
Sorry. Also, shout out to the network in the chat who says
there
hi,
he
Ryan,
is.
and hi, Sean. Dave Moore, the man himself, who started the Xbox Live with Sean. Well, as for me, find me on Twitter at Ryan Turford. I don't tweet much these days. You can follow me if you want anyways. I don't really care. You also find us on Twitter at Carpool Gaming as well. And if you want to interact with Court Lalonde, you can head on over there.
I don't give a shit. I don't know.
It's fine. It's fine. We're also right here on YouTube, youtube.com/carpoolgaming. By the way, if you're watching the live stream right now, don't forget to hit like on the live stream, subscribe to us if you haven't subscribed already, and then hit that notification bell to be notified whenever we go live, whenever of our new videos. And last but not least, you can find us on podcast services around the globe. So, for Sean Capri, I'm Ryan Turford. This has been episode 250 of the Xbox Drive. Only 50 more episodes before 300.
No.
And we're out. Bye.
Thank you so much to everybody for supporting us. So after all these years, all these episodes, I cannot believe that this is a show that actually exists on the internet and that people actually listen to. Luckleth and Garrett and Court and Argo and it's the Snack Network. And everybody check out We the GamerCast because Dave Moore's going to be on the show with me. Bye.
No power greater than X.